Look, I think it kind of came from two places. I'm an ocean swimmer, and I've spent a lot of years in concrete change rooms with a lot of naked women, you know. So there's a very special kind of community that comes from that. And what happens is these people might be almost strangers in your life, but for some reason, when you've swum together and you're all kind of getting changed, etc., there's a little, it's like a special space. There's different conversations, different relationships, and it's like a very fast shortcut into like the real thing sometimes. So I wanted to use that as a setting. And the other thing was I heard about a business here in Australia run by two women who offered sexual services for women. And it was so different to my understanding of the sex industry, which is incredibly limited. These women described themselves as housewives. So I was kind of like, you know, is this even legal in Australia? It is legal. So I got in contact with them because I wanted to know everything, including, you know, who are your clients? Who are these women who will pay for a sexual experience? You know, good questions for a filmmaker. And from there, the script started to come.
In a way, it's a great tribute to women of certain age.
Well, yeah, you know, what I wanted to do was just actually take women over 40 and put them at the center of the story. So they are not in this film because they're somebody's mother, and they're not in this film because they're somebody's wife, and they're also not in this movie because they're anxious about getting older. You know, you do get films with women in their mid-years and beyond now, but often there's a kind of fixation on getting older and dealing with that. And, you know, there's other conversations to have.
Yeah, I think I love it because we're all guided by pleasure. We all need pleasure in our lives. And these ladies, they're looking for pleasure, but also companionship and attention, which is very real. Can you comment on those topics, please?
Of course. Look, I think this movie, How to Please a Woman, views sex as a conversation, you know, and it acknowledges that that conversation changes with time. But, you know, it sees sex as a conversation in that it requires communication and engagement and maybe working out every time. So the film, although it has this fun premise about house cleaning and things getting out of control, it also tries to be very honest when it comes to our personal selves. And as you say, pleasure is important in all of our lives, and sometimes it falls out of people's lives. I tried really hard when I wrote and in my directing choices to be very honest and kind of pragmatic and upfront and real about that stuff, even though we're wrapped up in a big sort of fun story.
How excited are you about the fact that it's opening in North America right now?
It is so exciting for us to come to North America because in Australia, a thing happened that we didn't expect. I made the film and I think it's a warm drama with a bit of comedy. It gets pitched as a comedy that happens. And in cinemas, people laughed so hard. There was shouting even sometimes and mad clapping in the middle of the movie. So the Australian cinema release has been a really big success for us. Playing to a cinema audience has been terrific, because the film was so much funnier with an audience than I anticipated. So for us to now bring that to America, I'm so excited to see what happens, you know.
Renée, how gratifying was it for you to direct this very honest story? Honesty is not very common, or maybe it is, but I don't know. It's very, very honest. That makes it very attractive, I think.
Thank you. I don't think I can use the word gratifying. I'm going to say the word for me was terrifying, you know, because when you go to shoot a scene, and I'm not going to try and make the scene funny. I'm not going to try and make the scene sexy, okay, which is tricky when you're dealing with intimacy. We actually don't sexualize a lot of the material. I'm just going to try and kind of go somewhere real. And so when you do that, I just have my instincts in the moment. It's very quick. And my cast, it was such an exciting cast to work with, were very good because they would just kind of dial it in with me all the time. So, you know, it was really scary. And you feel vulnerable, you feel exposed yourself, you hope that it will be entertaining enough. But I kind of had this commitment from the start. if I'm going to make a movie that is this kind of movie, like house cleaning and sex and paying for it, then I want it to go a very particular place. And I have to be very specific all the time to kind of keep it in line with that honesty, authenticity, relatability, humanity, all those important things.
Does the friendship of the characters reflect the friendship of the group of actresses? I know some are English, some are from Australia or New Zealand. So did they get along? Was it a fun set or?
Yeah, so we had a really fantastic thing happen on set. Sally Phillips didn't know our Australian cast and the women. And our first scenes I kind of filmed all the women together because there's all the women scenes. And then the men kind of have all of their scenes with Sally. So when the women had their first scenes, we took everyone's clothes off right away. And we kind of got, I don't know, we just sort of got right into it. And it was the most beautiful thing to watch. It was almost like a kind of love affair. Something went on with the cast, which was glorious. The women got along really, really well. There was a lot of trust and love and respect. As a director, it's the thing you really hope for, because when that happens, I take a tiny step back. I'm like, okay, let's see that, that all the dynamics that were there were very alive. And then I also remember when Sally Phillips came to our warehouse set for the first time, which wasn't a real warehouse, this beautiful big warehouse where the men who are removalists are. And she just looked at them all, and there were these 3 guys crammed on this little vintage grandma couch. And she just started laughing. Sally's so generous. And she was just like, oh, great casting. So there was heaps of fun. But, as the director, I had to keep an eye on the fun, because what can happen if you have a little bit of comedy in your work is people start to want to play almost for the laugh, because the crew were all there. You have all these people standing around, it's a bit funny, and we all laugh or smile. So the energy begins to feed into that. That's theatre. We're not making theatre, we're making something for the screen. So actually the cast had so much fun, and I was like fun police central all the time. No, that's too funny, pull it back in. So I think they had a better time than I did. I was always trying to, but there's a great tension when that happens. Everyone's holding it down and holding it in. And when you call cut and then they all laugh because you've broken the tension, that's kind of good, because then that energy's in the scene, I think.
For me, the film is a little, you've done with this film poetic justice to the situation of millions of women out there. They're scared of talking of what they need or doing what they want to do. So I loved it because it's very liberating in a way. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, thank you. I did want it to be a little bit like that, and for it to, what this film also acknowledges, and the title does it too, that it's not easy to get it right. And so some of that onus is on. So now I'm speaking about a heterosexual paradigm, and a lot of what happens in the film does not have to live within that realm. But women kind of have to know that they have to say, and they have to be prepared to ask. But the film also acknowledges that's hard. And if women are not in an established relationship, that can be a little bit complicated if they're looking for safety and quality from a sexual experience. Those are big challenges. I'm not saying that paid services are the way to go, but what the film just kind of tries to do is just dig a bit deeper. Often in movies, when people get together, it's just suddenly so sort of sexy, and there's whole departments looking after that to make sure it feels sexy. And the movies had all this tension coming up to it. And that's not all. I just wanted to make a thing that might reflect a whole bunch of different women looking for and asking for different things, instead of, one big sexual tension lead up to that moment.
To me, also, the film is, you explore the patriarchal system in a way, in a situation that is unusual, because men are the ones that, or were the dominant group, right? And women were always kept a little more like sidekicks, and in this case, they're all like leading their lives and trying to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I really wanted to do that. I mean, we do have Sally Phillips plays a woman who is 50 and she's the one, you see her in the office. There's a little bit of workplace politics in the film. She gets the coffees, she does all the things, but you can also tell she, at her age, she probably should have progressed further. So as women, and we're learning more about this, like, yes, workplace, you know, equality is starting to happen, but there's still just this kind of dynamic of women try and do all the things for all the people. And sometimes that can hold you back. So she's someone who's always done all the things for all the people. Actually, what happens is when she starts up her own business looking after women, that's a special skill set. That's really, she's really good at that. But I also didn't want, the film isn't only about that. Like, you have a lot of women who have all their own agency in their lives, and that's true in this world as well.
Totally right. And thanks a lot. Thanks for the film. It was a great interview and lovely meeting you.
Oh, thank you. And you too. Thanks for the chat. That was awesome. That was great. Thanks.
That was great. Thank you, Renée. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See you.